Johan Cruijff, a name on everybody's lips when we ask the question, who are the greatest players ever? But do we know the total story? From his beginnings and rapid development at Ajax to his huge footballing and political impact at Barcelona. From his numerous achievements on the European and global stage to his successful business decisions outside the sport. This is the story of Cruijff and how he elevated what was expected of a footballer. In East Amsterdam and only 5 minutes away from Ajax's stadium, a young Johan Cruijff spent long hours playing in the streets. His father's friend Henk Angel had a job as a groundsman at Ajax, as the club slowly became a second home for Cruijff. Johan officially joined Ajax's youth team in the year 1957 at only 10 years old. He was training under coach Van der Veen in his early years, whom trained him not only in football but in norms and life values. As Cruijff said in his autobiography, the Ajax life was one that compensated for the education that I wouldn't be getting at school. Those early years were crucial for Cruijff, especially as his father passed away within that period while Johan was only 12 years old. Ajax graciously offered a job to his mother to keep the family secured financially. Ajax was just like his second family. But Johan lacked discipline in those days as he smoked cigarettes and argued with referees and teammates. The team used to discipline him through numerous fines, but despite that, there was no doubt about his talent, as he became only the second player in the club's history to get a full-time professional contract. He was given his first team debut at 17 years of age under the manager Vic Buckingham, and managed to score his first goal as a pro against PSV. Ajax were struggling in the 64-65 season as the English manager Buckingham left the club in January of 65, which handed the opportunity to ex-player Rinus Michels to take over managerial duties. He was a young manager but had authority in abundance. With a couple of injured players coming back, Cruijff didn't play much with the first team for the rest of the campaign, as Ajax ended that season in 13th position. Cruijff played 10 matches that year and scored 4 goals. But that didn't stop him from refusing a contract renewal from the board, as he asked for a better offer, which was rare in those days. He threatened to leave until the board offered an improved contract. Cruijff later said, "No matter how wonderful you find football when you're young, you'd better be very businesslike at the same time, otherwise you're finished in this game." Cruijff's footballing life was changed when Michels arrived, as the manager tried to protect the players from the board and used his authoritarian tactics to discipline the team. Several new fines and rules were introduced to the club, and of course, Cruijff was the culprit of most of these fines. Johan was only 18 years old when Michels arrived to the club. That's why he decided to rotate him between the first and second team to gain footballing experience and build his weak and young body. When he was given the chance with the first team because of some injuries within the squad, Cruijff showed some great passages of play, as he did against DWS when he scored an impressive brace. The media started to take notice, but Michels wanted to introduce his early vision of total football, which was still taking shape. Each and every player on the team had to follow specific instructions in order to implement this vision. And the only player who didn't follow those instructions at the beginning was Cruijff. After all that praise from the media, he built up a huge ego and often argued with his teammates on tactical discussions. Whenever Johan was absent from the first team, it showed on the pitch, as Ajax were slow, stiff, and without any invention. When Cruijff played, they transformed into a fast and attacking team. So in March of 1966, Cruijff was named a permanent starter for the team. His discipline was improved, as results improved as well. Ajax eventually won the league with a record-breaking number of points. Cruijff played 23 matches in all competitions that year and managed to score an astonishing 25 goals. Everything was looking good for Johan. He earned his national team debut at 19 years of age when he played against Hungary in a European qualifier, and started the new season with Ajax as an integral and important first-team player. But in 1966, Holland were in the middle of major riots from the youth population, which had the goal of introducing chaos in society and challenging the system. Cruijff was considered an instigator of these movements in his second international match against the Czechs, as Johan was involved in heated arguments with the ref after he was kicked several times. After a few arguments, the ref showed Cruijff a red card. He was the first Dutch international player to be sent off in history. The incident was much debated in Holland, as Cruijff was accused of hitting the ref and was banned from international football for a whole year. But that event didn't halt Cruijff and Ajax's scintillating form, as they won 12 out of their first 14 matches in the league. After passing the test of Besiktas in the first round of the European Cup, Liverpool were awaiting them. The Reds just started their road to success under manager Bill Shankly. That's why Ajax were hoping to at least avoid defeat. But under the foggy weather at the Olympic Stadium, everything clicked for Ajax.
Zwart nog steeds. Kans. Oh! Nuninga en een doelpunt.
Amazingly, Ajax managed to score 4 goals without reply in the first half and won the match 5-1 in the end. It was the biggest defeat of any English club in European history. Michels said after the match, "This victory is the first evidence that our team is a force to be reckoned with at the international level." A 2-2 draw at Anfield secured Ajax's place in the quarterfinals. Around 5 million Dutch people watched the match on TV as Cruijff was becoming a national figure. That fame opened up many commercial opportunities for him as he signed with Puma and was invited to the openings of several shops and businesses around the country. But Johan did show signs of struggle in his quarter-final matchup against Dukla Prague, as Ajax were eliminated after the 2 matches. In the league, Cruijff and Ajax were dominating matches left and right as they won their second league title in a row while scoring 122 goals in only 34 matches, which is still an unbroken national record today. Johan Cruijff was the engineer behind this domination, as he managed to score an astonishing 41 goals in 41 matches in total, 33 of them coming in the league. His image in the media was improved as well, as the Dutch Football Association decided to waive his suspension as Cruijff was back in the national team in September of '67. Young Johan started having arguments with his teammates about tactics. He used to discuss the tactics to be used by the team in some interviews as if he was the manager. That resulted in clashes with the real manager, Rinus Michels. But despite that, the manager didn't stop taking Cruijff aside and talking tactics, because he knew that Johan would assist his teammates with tactical instructions during the match. A good example of that was an important league match against Feyenoord. Michels could barely see anything from the bench because of the foggy weather that day. Cruijff managed to change the tactical shape during the match as Ajax dominated after initially struggling. The match was abandoned at a 1-1 draw, but Cruijff showed his knowledge of the game that day. That event caused some issues with Michels, as he banned Cruijff from a couple of matches in the league. But with time, Michels knew he couldn't build what he wanted without Cruijff, so Johan quickly came back to assist the team. Unfortunately for Ajax, they were drawn with Real Madrid in the first round of the European Cup. After a 1-1 draw at home thanks to Cruyff's goal, Ajax went to the Bernabeu to seal the deal. Everybody in Spain was surprised by this unknown Dutch side as Ajax dominated proceedings. But Cruijff missed some clear-cut chances to finish the tie, as Madrid managed to score a late goal in extra time, and for the first time in his career, Johan faced huge criticism from the media. He was back to his best in the Eredivisie, as Ajax Amsterdam won their 3rd league title in a row. Cruijff was the top goal scorer of the team, after scoring 25 goals in 33 matches in the league, and was named Dutch Player of the Year. Cruijff struggled with injuries in the summer of '68, but that didn't stop him from his commercial endeavors. He was exceeding what was expected of a footballer in those days. Michels asked Johan to focus only on football and believed that his commercial endeavors will affect his relationship with his teammates. All media outlets were talking about Ajax's crucial encounter against West German champions Nuremberg in the first round of the European Cup. It was a crucial match for Cruyff's career as well. He needed to prove that he's up for the European game, especially after the Madrid match. Despite the dominance of the West Germans, Ajax managed to get out of Germany with a 1-1 draw, and despite his injury, Cruijff scored the equalizer and played a great match. As Michels said following the first leg, Johan proved that he is willing and able to sacrifice for the whole team. At the Olympic Stadium, Ajax delivered an almost perfect match as they blew the West Germans away by 4-0. Cruijff was marked by 2 players the whole match, which opened up tons of spaces for his teammates. His manager said after the match, "With Johan, we're going ahead at full power. The team can hardly do without him, but he only truly flourishes because of the team." Johan changed that season, whether by Michels' methods or by Cruijff approaching marriage and being more mature in general. He didn't show his usual signs of rebelliousness and played for the team. The focus shifted to the European Cup after Ajax tripped up in the league. They passed Turkish side Fenerbahce in the second round and faced last year's finalist Benfica in the quarterfinals. Under the snow, Eusebio's men won the first leg at Ajax's backyard. Cruijff missed easy chances again and faced renewed criticism. However, this time he redeemed himself in the second leg as Ajax won in Lisbon by the same result. As Michels said, "This is the best showing by Ajax since I arrived at the club." Cruijff's brilliance was on show again in the tiebreaker in Paris, as Ajax won after extra time by 3-0. There was no doubt that Cruijff was better than Eusebio that day, and was now the main star of this exciting Ajax team. Injuries curtailed Cruijff's ascendance in the semi-finals against Spartak Trnava. He was not impacting the match, but Ajax managed to surpass this tough test and qualify to their first European final, the first time any Dutch team achieved that feat. They faced AC Milan in the Santiago Bernabeu. The Rossoneri were led by their talisman Gianni Rivera. The Italian outshined Cruijff in that final, as Milan scored early and took over the match, winning the final by 4-1. As the match was effectively over, Cruijff wanted to show his talent on the pitch, as Michels said after the match that Cruijff cared too little about his defensive role in midfield. Some newspapers were less diplomatic. Cruijff gave the impression of playing more for the many scouts in the stands than for his own team. Cruijff said after the match that Ajax were too nice and were still not cunning enough. They had to change something. After Ajax failed to qualify to the European Cup, Michels decided to build a new team. Players like Nuninga, Benny Müller, and Ton Bronk all left, and then came the striker Dick van Dijk as a poacher to support Cruijff in the attack. Within that period, Johan Cruijff thought his salary didn't match what he demonstrated on the field, and the man who convinced him of that was his father-in-law and new agent Cor Koster. Koster advised him to ask for an improved contract and told him that George Best and Franz Beckenbauer had superior salaries. So Cruijff did what no Dutch player had ever done in those days and went to the board to negotiate with his agent alongside him. In that period, the board members negotiate exclusively with the player, and agent interferences in negotiations were a new thing. In the end, Cruijff got what he wanted and was the first to include an agent in contract negotiations. Although Ajax were playing well, high tensions were sparking between the manager and his players. It began when Ajax crashed out of the Fairs Cup semi-final against Arsenal. Michels criticized the players, stating that they were frightened little fawns. A crucial title-deciding match against Feyenoord ended in a 3-3 draw, as Michels was furious again. He was not shocked when he saw Feyenoord lift the European Cup that season. He was fully convinced that they were better mentally than his Ajax team, whom were concerned only about their finances. Those players have had enough when Ajax won their last match of the season and lifted their 4th league title in 5 years, as they locked themselves in their dressing room and refused to allow anybody from the staff to enter. It was a full-on protest against Michels and his dictatorial behavior. Ajax looked far from a team that will win a European Cup. Cruijff didn't start the new season because of injury, as Ajax struggled on the field with the absence of their main star. Jerry Muren was the man that replaced him. He used to wear Cruijff's number 9 shirt. Johan didn't care about the number on the back of his shirt, as he wore the number 9, 8, and even 10 in those days. That's why when he came back against PSV, he asked Muren to keep his number 9 shirt, and went to pick up a shirt with the number 14 lying on the floor of the dressing room. Cruijff came back from injury without complications, and he quickly was back to his best as he played an unorthodox assist in a European Cup second round match. Everything was back to normal when Cruijff was back. Ajax were winning match after match as they climbed all the way from the 6th position to the top of the league. If there was one match in which everything seemed to fall into place and reflect the brilliance of this Ajax team, it could be the European Cup quarter-finals against Celtic. The Scottish side were winners of this competition back in '67 and finalists in the previous year in 1970. They were not an ordinary team, but what Ajax has shown was to be the blueprint of what is labeled total football. Michels was using a 4-2-4 formation with a striker in the league, but the manager changed to a 4-3-3 in European matches. Cruijff would be the central figure in attack, without another central striker like Van Dijk. The philosophy behind this formation is very different from the philosophy that Guardiola had used at Barcelona, for example. Michels' idea was the interchangeability between positions on the field for the purpose of pressing the opponent and winning back possession to control specific spaces. If a player presses an opponent and leaves his marker, another teammate covers his player, and the player he leaves would be covered by another teammate, and etc. This interchangeability is not random, as it is drilled in numerous training sessions in order to not lose their shape on the pitch, and when they win back possession, they don't pass the ball backwards and sideways, but rather try to create goal-scoring chances. That's why they're not afraid to play long balls to the wings, as winger Svart said, "In 4 passes, we would be in front of goal." Cruijff was the key to this system, as he was the central figure whom orchestrated many of the attacking moves in the final third, and ended each season in that period with an average of 25 assists per season. What's different at that season was that he had a very tough midfield trio that worked hard for him, and a young Johan Neeskens, Muren, and Reinders. All of that was showcased against Celtic as Ajax won the first leg in a dominating 3-0. Michels was delighted and said, "With this Ajax, I have found what I was looking for. It's been a long road, but we have arrived." Ajax progressed to the semi-finals of the competition, and despite everything going well, there were some internal issues lingering. In April of '71, Ajax were about to face Atletico Madrid in the semi-finals. Johan's contract was due to expire in a few months, and as Spain were thinking of opening their borders to professional foreign players, rumors started to circulate about Cruijff's potential departure to Barcelona. But from where did these rumors come from? In the summer of 1970, both Cruijff and his wife Dani visited Barcelona for a day and were given a personal tour by the legendary photographer Horacio Segui. This tour included a special invite to the Camp Nou, where Johan was given a Barcelona shirt to wear and also met Carlos Rexach and even posed for a fake contract signing. A memorable day for Cruijff, and these pictures sparked those rumors after a year of being captured. In the first leg at Atletico Stadium, Michels' defensive approach in Madrid made Cruijff seem ineffective the whole match. As Atletico scored the opener, Michels decided to sub Cruijff with 15 minutes left in the match. Johan was never subbed in a match since his debut in '64. Was it to show authority in front of the Spanish press, or was it to make Cruijff lose face in front of the Spanish fans? Michels' contract was also due to expire that same summer. Ajax chairman Van Praag managed to end all speculation, as he stated that no transfer discussions will be made until the transfer period starts in the summer. As Ajax focused back on football, they handsomely won 3-0 in the second leg against Atletico, as they secured their second European final in the last 3 years. However, a loss against Feyenoord effectively ended their league title run. The European final was now even more crucial. Their Greek opponents Panathinaikos were awaiting them. They were not one of the best in Europe. Ajax were favourites to finally win the European Cup at Wembley. The Dutch side opened the scoring in the first 5 minutes, and the final turned out to be an ugly one. But Michels was satisfied, as his team were finally capable of playing an ugly match and win. Cruijff handed a nice assist to score the second, and to help Ajax lift their first European title in history. Panathinaikos coach and ex-legend Puskás had much praise for Johan, as he said, "Cruijff is 50% of the team. Give him to us and we'll win." As the Spanish borders were still closed for foreign players, Cruijff managed to extend his contract with Ajax for 7 extra years. However, the team had to say goodbye to the manager Rinus Michels, as he said, "So much had broken down in the personal relationship with Ajax that I couldn't stay any longer." Despite his complicated relationship with Cruijff, Johan still gave a great recommendation to the Barcelona board when he was asked about Michels, as the Dutch manager successfully signed with the Catalan club. The Romanian Stevan Kovac took over managerial duties, an intelligent but very lenient man. Training sessions became easier, and most of the fines and rules implemented by Michels were thrown out the window. Kovac used similar tactics to the previous manager and rotated less. The first team had high levels of understanding. All the principles of total football were drilled down by Michels, but with the added freedom of the new manager and a new leadership role by Cruijff on the pitch, whom gave constant instructions throughout matches, Ajax were a dominating team, both in league action and in the European Cup.
Daar is Cruijff. Scoort! Daar gaat die bal. Haan. Schot Haan. Ja!
Ajax successfully passed the test of East German champions Dynamo Dresden in the first round, and then passed French champions Marseille in the second round of the European Cup. Cruyff's brilliance within 1971 handed him the Ballon d'Or, which was exclusive to European players. Cruijff was celebrated in his next match in the league against Den Haag and scored one of his most iconic goals ever. Given that the pitch was very poor, Cruijff had to be inventive in order to pass his marker and go through on goal.
Zoals hij daarbij maar laat staan. Het scoort! Schitterend Johan Cruijff, wat een fabuleus doelpunt. Schitterend!
Ajax continued winning in the league and took revenge against Arsenal in the quarter-finals of the European Cup. Ajax's display that day proved that Dutch football was years ahead of English football at that time.
Put it in the net. And 2-1 to Ajax.
Ajax won their 15th league title in the Eredivisie after dominating their rivals Feyenoord by 5-1. They also won the Dutch Cup final against Den Haag and booked a place in the European final after passing the difficult test of Benfica in the semi-finals. In order to seal the treble, Ajax had to pass the Italian test of Internazionale in the European final, the Dutch total football against the Italian Catenaccio. Despite the rigid man marking, Cruijff managed to score a brace.
Ajax and Inter, and it can't happen very often.
As Ajax successfully lifted their second European Cup in a row. During the season, Cruijff ended up scoring a league-best 25 goals and added 20 assists to his tally as well. In the following season, both Cruijff and Ajax continued in writing history after winning the Intercontinental Cup against Argentinian side Independiente. Within only 4 months, they lifted the league title, the Dutch Cup, the European Cup, and the Intercontinental Cup. But behind the scenes, all was not right. Cruyff's individualism, his numerous paychecks, and his advertising endeavors throughout the year had built up a growing sense of jealousy within his teammates. As the team continued to succeed, Cruyff's stature and reputation in the eyes of the public had risen as well, all while his teammates were in the shadows. The idea of creating a documentary that season sparked those feelings, as the movie displayed Ajax's successes and Cruijff as the main protagonist within it. As his teammate Haan had said, that eulogizing of Johan started to irritate us. Following that intercontinental success, leadership fell apart. Players started to confront each other less and less, and when Cruijff became captain after Kaiser no longer wanted the responsibility, the annoyance increased. Kovac, the manager, lacked the authority to fix these issues, and despite Cruyff's absence because of injury in a few matches, Ajax astonishingly never really stopped winning. With Cruijff back, they've beaten CSKA Sofia in the second round by 6 goals and dominated against Bayern München by 4 goals in the first leg of the quarter-finals. Cruijff was injured before the second leg, but despite that, he was still advised to join his teammates for moral support as they fly to Munich. Johan refused, and after that incident, some of the board, the doctors, and the players had turned against him. Ajax were beaten 2-1 but secured a semi-final berth against Real Madrid. The players eventually asked for a meeting and reaffirmed their confidence in Cruijff as they focused on the rest of the season. Ajax started to win efficiently that season and with a 1-0 scoreline. That same result was repeated in the second leg at the Santiago Bernabeu as they booked their place in their 4th European final in the last 5 years. This efficient approach was reflected in the league as Ajax won the league title yet again while boasting a fantastic defensive record, conceding 18 goals in 34 matches. They faced Juventus in the European final and implemented that efficient approach again as Ajax scored early and defended in what was left of that boring final. Ajax were European champions for the 3rd time in a row.
Ajax have won the European Cup for the 3rd successive time.
After a long and eventful season, most Ajax players believed that this team and structure will not last long. As Ajax player Barry Holshoff had said, "Deep down in our minds, we knew it was over." In the summer of 1973, the Spanish borders finally opened for foreign players, but Cruijff still had 5 years on his existing contract. As the new coach George Noble arrived, Cruijff continued his pre-season preparations as if everything was normal. But around July, ex-captain Piet Keizer had put himself forward for the captaincy again. Cruijff was surprised, and a vote by the players was taken. Keizer won with 8 votes against 7 as Johan froze in his place. Cruijff immediately picked up the phone and told his agent Koster to call Barcelona. The Catalan club had to make a big offer to lure the Dutchman, but Cruijff wanted to leave and strongly pressured the board. Both parties agreed in August as Cruijff transferred to Barcelona for €1 million, a record-breaking sum at that time. But there was one problem. The Dutch transfer window was effectively closed in August, so the Dutch Football Association prevented a transfer to Barcelona initially. Cruijff did what he does best, play football and issue threats. It was rumored that Cruijff would sit out some national team matches as they were fighting to qualify for the upcoming 1974 World Cup. Cruijff finally managed to transfer to Barcelona, but couldn't play in any official match for the Catalan club until December, thanks to a request by the Dutch Federation. He played in friendlies until October, and after some new threats from Cruijff, the Dutch Football Association surrendered, as Johan finally managed to officially terminate his contract with Ajax and was now ready to officially play for Barcelona. At that point, Barcelona were under the guidance of ex-Ajax manager Rinus Michels, and before Cruijff's debut, they were sitting way down in 14th position in La Liga. It was the perfect way to reflect Cruijff's influence on the team, as Barcelona scored big against Granada, Gijón and Malaga. The Catalan club successfully claimed the top spot in December. Cruijff also managed to help the national team in earning a goalless and tough draw in a World Cup qualifier against Belgium and secure their place in the World Cup for the first time since 1938. All those accomplishments throughout the year earned Cruijff the Ballon d'Or for the second time to match Di Stefano's record. Barcelona player Carlos Rexach mentioned how the Spanish Football Association always seemed to help Real Madrid, showpiece of the dictator Franco regime, in winning the league. He was adamant that numerous penalties were called on Barcelona throughout that season. The Catalan team had not won the league since 1960, but that season was different. One match that showed the brilliance of Cruijff was against Atletico Madrid, when Johan scored what is known in Catalonia as the impossible goal. Michels had been working with the team for a couple of seasons and they were a good side. But with Cruijff's arrival, it all clicked tactically and Barcelona were immediately better. The amount of love Cruijff got from the fans, not only in Catalonia, but also in other regions of Spain, was astonishing. And when Cruijff decided to name his son Jordi, the same name of one of the historic figures in Catalonia, the appreciation was huge. It was interpreted as a gesture of solidarity for the suppressed people of Catalonia. But Cruijff was not aware of the full significance of the name, and clearly stated in 1974 that he didn't want to get involved in politics. In all cases, he was hailed as their savior, and in a match against Madrid at the Santiago Bernabeu, Cruijff and his teammates wrote history as they won by 5-0. By March, Barcelona were on top of the league and had a 9-point lead. With 5 matches at hand, Barcelona became La Liga champions after their fans waited for 14 long years. For years and years, the Dutch national team were run poorly. Cruijff had so little faith in the Football Association. In preparation for the World Cup, the KNVB brought Rinus Michels as a part-time manager to try to solve this issue. In the 1974 World Cup, everybody saw Cruijff at his best. The Dutch national team played with a more riskier version of the total football deployed at Ajax, and that tactic worked beautifully, as they won their group in the first round, then routed the Argentinians in the second round by 4 goals. the East Germans by 2 goals,
Casi llega el segundo tanto del partido.
and the World Cup holders Brazil by 2 goals again. Cruijff scored 3 goals and assisted a further 6 within those matches. He was the conductor of the team. The Brazilian defender Luis Pereira said after his match against the Dutch national team, "The Dutch are the most complete team I've ever encountered, who has taught the players that everyone can do everything." The newspapers in Brazil wrote after the match, "We didn't know much about Cruijff, but now we'll never forget him." The West Germans were waiting for them in the final. The Dutch national team had already far exceeded their objectives for this tournament. One game was left to achieve the most prestigious prize in football.
That's the prize. That's the trophy. That's up for grabs.
Cruijff and his compatriots started the final well, as Johan earned a penalty, which was slotted coolly by Johan Neeskens.
Johan Neeskens fires the ball home.
Suddenly, the Dutch stopped pressing effectively in the first half, as the Germans managed to come back and score 2 goals before halftime.
Back to him, yes he can. It's Gerd Muller. It's a goal! Gerd Muller!
The Dutch played better in the second half, but it was not enough.
West Germany are world champions.
Despite the loss, Cruijff remembers that tournament fondly, as he said, "Although I'd been part of many trophy-winning club sides, it was only after that World Cup that I achieved true stardom." Barcelona reinforced their team with the Dutchman Johan Neeskens, or Johan Segundo as they called him in Spain. The expectations were high for the new season, and Cruijff's relationship with his manager was better than ever. But what happened on the pitch was far from good. Because of the law in La Liga, which limited clubs from having only 2 foreign players at the same time on the pitch, the Peruvian Hugo Sotil found himself on the bench more often than not, which meant that Barcelona lacked speed. And Michels had a say in their poor form as well. As Rexach said, Michels tinkered too much with the composition of the team, which came at the expense of cohesion. Home games at the Camp Nou were dramatic and positive in terms of results, but away games were another story. Opposition defenders were aggressive against Cruijff, which pushed the Dutchman to the middle to receive the ball. He was targeted by the opposition, and the refs allowed that to happen. Despite these issues, Cruijff played an amazing match against Dutch side Feyenoord in the second round of the European Cup. Johan managed to assist 3 goals, all for Rexach. He managed to assist 2 goals with his left foot.
Und Tor! Tor! 1:0 für und frei wieder Reschak und Tor! Cruijff, Reschak!
And the third with the outside of his right foot.
Wieder Cruijff. Wieder eine herrliche Flanke. Reschak und Tor! 2:0, ein großartiges Tor.
His overall performances throughout 1974 had earned him the Ballon d'Or for the 3rd time, which was a record in those days. But Cruijff faced a lot of negative press from the Madrid-based newspapers throughout the year, especially after Barca's loss in the Santiago Bernabeu. And Cruijff always gave an earful to the refs, and in a match against Malaga, Cruijff was protesting after an illegal goal was allowed. And Cruijff didn't stop protesting until he was sent off. The first sending off in an official match in Spain since red cards were introduced in 1970. Barcelona's gap extended to 15 points from the leaders Real Madrid, and they were out of Europe from the semi-finals after a defeat against Leeds. Barcelona ended the season with 37 points, their worst tally since 1970. Michels was asked to leave as his relationship with the club's leadership turned sour. Fans and journalists were also annoyed about the amount of Dutch influence within the team. It was time for a change. In came the German coach Hennes Wiesfeller to take over managerial duties. He was an obsessive manager who had succeeded in lifting the UEFA Cup with Borussia Mönchengladbach. Cruijff immediately tried to put the coach in his place and said, "You determine the tactics beforehand, and I determine the tactics on the pitch." The German was baffled. However, that is what happened on the field. Disagreements in the middle of some matches ended with an explosion during an away game against Sevilla in February of 1976. The German told Cruijff to stay up front, whilst Johan preferred to save his legs in midfield. When the match started, Cruijff asked Rexach to switch positions, as Barcelona struggled to create chances, and after Cruijff carelessly lost the ball, which helped Sevilla extend their lead to 2 goals, Cruijff was immediately subbed. The matter was discussed with the board, but no progress was made and the problem was unsolved. Cruijff knew he had influence with the 70,000 Barcelona socios, so he played brilliantly to end the season and helped Barcelona win against league leaders Atletico Madrid in an away match. The German manager didn't stand a chance in gaining the support of the fans, especially as Barcelona were eliminated by Liverpool in the semi-finals of the UEFA Cup. The board told the German manager to pack his bags, as he said, "With this Cruijff, Barcelona will never win the championship. He plays only for himself." In the Euro Championships of 1976, Cruijff faced some difficulties. With the arrival of manager George Nobel, Cruijff was basically in charge of the selections, as he forced both the best Dutch keeper in the country, Jan van Beveren, and Willy van der Kuylen out of the national team. The Netherlands were the favorites for the competition, and as the tournament progressed, the Dutch managed to get to the semi-final stage to face Czechoslovakia. Everybody assumed that they would face West Germany for a World Cup rematch in the final, but not all was right for the Dutch in the match against the Czechs. The Dutch players played a very poor match under the heavy rains. Frustration was mounting as 3 red cards were shown, 2 for the Dutch
Voor Willem van Hanegem.
and a single red card for the Czechs.
Kaart voor middenvelder Polak. Hij was al eerder rood.
Cruijff was frustrated with the amount of tackles and kept complaining to the ref. It was a poor showing that ended with a 3-1 defeat against Czechoslovakia. Nobody ever saw Cruijff like this. He looked much older and stiffer, something which was new for him. Despite the Euro fiasco, Cruijff still held huge influence at Barcelona, as he got rid of the German Wieswiller and helped bring back Michels. He once again threatened to not extend his contract unless Michels was brought back. Michels said in an interview, "You might say that Barcelona wouldn't have taken me on if Cruijff hadn't been playing there." During the first half of the season, Barcelona were on top of the league, but for Cruijff, it was not going smoothly. He was banned in December because of yellow card accumulation. Then he got another yellow in January after criticizing a ref. In a match full of frustration against Malaga in the Camp Nou, the referee decided to allow a goal, which was clearly a handball. Cruijff protested furiously and was given a yellow card. Then he allegedly spouted mean words to the ref, which had earned him his second sending off. Cruijff believed that the ref, whom was from Madrid, was aiming to make Barcelona lose the match, and during his departure, the fans were protesting vigorously, and in that moment, Cruijff became the martyr of Catalonia. Eventually, he got a 3-match suspension, and Cruijff thought that there was a smear campaign against him and said, "I'm not fighting just for myself, but for all Catalans." Barcelona gained a single point from the 3 matches. They lost the top spot and ended the season without a title again. But for his heroics, Cruijff was branded by some newspapers as the greatest personality in Catalonia. When Cruijff began his footballing career, he always talked about retiring around his early 30s. Now entering 30 years of age, that statement looked to be true. He suffered serious damage to his calf in the summer and missed the early league matches. Barcelona without him were struggling to score goals. Around that time, Cruijff and his family were threatened by a rifle from an intruder who was attempting a kidnap at his home. By this time, Johan began to seriously look forward to the end of his career. When he came back from injury, he helped the Dutch national team qualify to the 1978 World Cup, but shockingly decided to not partake in the tournament. The debate on the reasons he didn't partake in the tournament will continue for years to come. Some said that his wife Dani persuaded him to not go, while others attribute the failed kidnap which affected his decision. In all cases, his decision was final, as Cruijff eventually said, "To play a World Cup, you have to be 200% ready. There are moments when there are other values in life." He came back concentrating on Barcelona as he led the team to big victories in the league and in European competitions as they passed both English sides Ipswich and Villa.
And he scored one on his own. That's the glory of this man.
Around April, Johan was back to protesting to the refs and got his 4th yellow card and was suspended for his next crucial match against Madrid. Without Cruijff, Barcelona lost 4-0 and the championship was effectively over. Cruijff was struggling with the same injury in his calf throughout the season. When he had space, he played great football. However, when he was man-marked, it was tough for him in this stage of his career to move clear of his markers and influence the game. That was evident when Barcelona lost against PSV in the semi-finals of the UEFA Cup, no La Liga again, and no European Cup. They did win the Copa del Rey in his last season, before Cruijff left the Catalan club. Despite little success on the field, Cruijff still regards his 5 Catalan seasons as the best years of his life, not only for the footballing aspects, but for the life aspects as well. Before he left, Cruijff delivered an odd choice in the eyes of the Catalans. He advised the members to vote for Josep Luis Nunez. His counterpart Ferran Arinho, a progressive figure who was supported by the Catalan Nationalist Party, was a more obvious choice for Cruijff. However, Nunez won the elections after he announced to the members that he could convince Cruijff to stay at the club. Of course, it was all a play to get him the presidency. It's true that eventually Nunez helped Barcelona grow bigger and better, but with time, his supporter Johan Cruijff will turn into one of his many enemies.
Het veld van het Olympisch Stadion. 3-maal was hij de beste voetballer van Europa.
A farewell match was organized to celebrate Cruijff's footballing career. Bayern München were invited to face Ajax. The honorary match proved to be embarrassing as Bayern won 8-0 as the Germans took it very seriously. It was the biggest defeat in Cruijff's career. After his footballing career, he plunged himself into several business activities within Spain. But after some time, Johan was scammed in one of these projects as he discovered several forged papers and was left with a huge debt. He was forced to get back to football to earn some money. Thus appeared the chance to play in the United States for the Los Angeles Aztecs. And who was the manager awaiting him there? None other than Rinus Michels. The North American Soccer League used to attract professionals from Europe and South America's 2nd and 3rd divisions. Some legendary players like Gerd Müller and Franz Beckenbauer came for the money and left. But Cruijff took it on his own to learn more about the culture and embrace it. He even tried to support American football in building a good infrastructure for kids in order to elevate the football levels in the country. Cruijff played a single season in Los Angeles, then another season in Washington, then came back to Holland for a new challenge. In November of 1980, he was made a technical advisor to the young coach Leo Ben Hacker at Ajax. Cruijff wasn't qualified as a trainer, but that didn't stop him from giving pointers. Immediately in the next match, Ajax were being outplayed by Twente at home. Cruijff got up from the stands and made his way down to Ajax's bench. He began shouting and pointing, and suddenly the match turned as Ajax came back from behind and won the match. Did Cruijff really impact the match? Ajax players disagree. As Dick Schoeneker said, "I don't believe anything changed when Johan came and sat. No one paid any attention to him." Cruijff is a legendary figure, and stories like these only supplement that fact, but sometimes they're not entirely true. But we as fans may exaggerate the impact to further our beliefs of some historical characters. That's what the newspapers wrote the very next day. But in reality, and as the Ajax players had said, Cruijff's influence that season was not clear, as Ajax continued struggling and failed to claim the title. In February of 1981, Cruijff left Ajax to earn some money playing again. Surprisingly, Cruijff went to play for Levante in the Segunda Division. He was suffering from minor injuries as the signing didn't work at all, as he went back to America again and then decided to finally settle in Holland on September of 1981. Cruijff started joining Ajax's training sessions as it was a natural thing to do. Weeks went by and he felt fit and healthy. He made clear his intentions of playing for the first team. Months of complex discussions ensued within the club, as Ajax were not eager to pay a salary for a 34-year-old footballer who could be injured in any second. That age was different in those days. Without the huge strides in training and nutritional science in the last few decades, most players at that time used to retire in their early 30s. But Ajax were struggling in the league. The atmosphere in the dressing room was not optimal. They needed a leader. Eventually, an agreement was made. Cruijff would be paid a basic salary plus part of the proceeds from the extra tickets that might be sold from his presence alone. In the previous seasons at that time, no more than 8,000 people attended the matches. Cruijff was confident he would attract more. So finally, and on the 6th of December 1981, Cruijff made his second debut for his boyhood club. 23,000 fans attended that match against Haarlem, and after 20 minutes, Cruijff showed his class once again.
Cruijff, glad, Johan Cruijff. En een weergeloze bovenbal. En een goal van Johan Cruijff.
Ajax won by 4 goals to 1, as this match set the tone for the season, as Ajax went undefeated all the way to the end and won 17 out of 19 league matches. We saw a new version of Cruijff, a slower version of course, but he was considered a complete playmaker in the team and had excellent vision on the pitch. He managed to score a respectable 7 goals and assist a further 9 in 15 matches overall, as Ajax managed to lift the league title, the first league title for Cruijff since 1974. Cruijff's form convinced the club to extend his contract for another year, but injuries kept him out of matches until September of the new season. He also played in the European Cup again, as there was skepticism about him coping in the European game. And those thoughts were true, as Cruijff faced difficulties when facing Celtic in the first round, as Ajax lost after losing the second leg.
What amazing game!
As Cruijff's appearances became less regular in the league, attendances started to drop. Results were not affected that much, and the board were pleased with that, as that made Johan's leverage within the club even lower. They were not happy that Cruijff was interfering in everything at the club. However, despite Cruijff's injuries, when he did manage to play, he was still capable of the magnificent.
Doet het op deze manier. Olsen, Cruijff, goal.
Discussions about that penalty and about Cruijff's inventive mind are still made today. But within that time, the academy introduced several new talents, like Olsen, Vandenberg and Van Basten. Cruijff was suddenly less impactful, and the Ajax board felt that he was not worth his salary. By May of 1983, the league title was lifted by Ajax again. They also won the Dutch Cup, with Cruijff assisting 2 goals and scoring a screamer.
Cruijff.
But the board's intentions were clear. There is no place for Cruijff in the following season. Cruijff felt insulted, as he would have liked to end his career at the club, and said, "It's not my fault, I'm leaving Ajax." Cruijff didn't want to stop playing. He still felt fit and ready to play. But more importantly, he was still full of hard feelings towards Ajax. There was speculation about an unimaginable switch to rivals Feyenoord. It was a matter of pride for Cruijff. He wanted to prove that he could still deliver success. Thus, he accepted Feyenoord's deal and signed for the rivals in the summer of 1983. By that time, Feyenoord were greatly struggling. They hadn't won the league since 1974, and the team lacked the required talent to compete. Winning anything with this group will prove to be a difficult task for Cruijff. The transfer was very weird, as writer Andy Boleyn compared that transfer in his book to the idea of Salah moving to Manchester United. Some Feyenoord fans didn't even want to see him, as they returned their season tickets back to the club cut into pieces. But Cruijff immediately influenced the team, either within the training sessions or in the actual matches. Defender Henk Doet said nothing was unimportant to him. With him around, you could never slacken off. He was always critical and self-critical too. Despite the promising start, there was a clear lack of chemistry in the beginning, and all of that was reflected in their embarrassing defeat against Ajax in the Olympic Stadium by 8 goals to 2.
Alles winnen ze nu natuurlijk. Ja, ook zo'n goal nog. 8-2. Marco van Basten.
Cruijff's former team seemed vindicated by letting Johan leave. But despite that, Feyenoord kept on winning matches, while Cruijff started to dictate the tempo and play make from the back, which opened up tons of spaces for his teammates. Cruijff was basically an assistant coach to the first team coach, Lebretz. The focus of both Cruijff and the manager in that season was their defensive stability and their attacking efficiency, very different from total football and the high press. It worked, as Feyenoord kept winning matches, and the young Ajax team started losing points and make mistakes. With Cruijff, another star was born in the team, and that was Ruud Gullit, who was great and won the Dutch Footballer of the Year award. And without playing beautifully in most matches, Feyenoord were league leaders again, as Cruijff won back the support of the fans. They also laid revenge on Ajax as they threw them out of the KNVB Cup and also won 4-1 in the league. Cruijff's played all but one match in the league. Feyenoord instantly lost that match. And with Cruijff back in February, Feyenoord managed to win the historic league and cup double, one of Cruijff's greatest achievements ever.
En nu een jaar Feyenoord, afscheid van de voetbalvelden.
The Feyenoord board tried to extend his contract, but Cruijff knew that the season had taken a big toll on him physically. He was ready to finally retire. But that wasn't the end of Cruijff's relationship with the sport, but rather the end of a chapter, as a new chapter full of success begins. Who among us does not know Diego Armando Maradona, a player of great achievements, beautiful dribbles, and numerous challenges? He overcame the odds to rise above everyone else in the world of football, but at what cost? There was always two sides to the Maradona story, a story on the pitch and another one outside of it. And sometimes these two sides clash together. This is the story of Maradona and how he left his eternal mark on football. Diego Armando Maradona was born in poverty in the southern area of Buenos Aires, in particular in Villa Fiorito. His parents had passion for football, as football was one of the few things that the poor had at their disposal. His uncle Cirilo handed Diego a football for his third birthday gift. Maradona said later in an interview that first football was the most beautiful present of my life. He played on the streets near the waste ground, and the tricky terrain made the ball bounce awkwardly, which was very hard to control. This made Diego hone his talents and teach him control of a football at a very young age. But to survive in Villa Fiorito, Diego had to choose one of two options. Either he joins one of the several gangs that ruled the suburb, or focus on football. His parents naturally encouraged him to focus on football because they saw his natural talent and gave him the needed room to develop. At age 8, Diego caught the eyes of talent scout Francis Cornejo, who was preparing an under-19 for Club Argentinos Juniors. After the initial trials, Francis was astounded and was convinced that Maradona was older than his real age because of his style of play. In 1969, Diego was part of Los Cibolitas, the junior team of Argentinos Juniors. He was a natural star and leader for the team, as he played as a number 10, and the coach gave him freedom to roam and experiment. In 1972, Diego earned his first small piece of fame when he showed off his juggling skills as part of the halftime program in Argentina's first division. He was later interviewed for the first time in his life and was asked about his dreams, as he said, "My first dream is to play in the World Cup." Diego's performances with the junior side in 1974 pushed El Gráfico magazine in sending a journalist to cover Maradona, which was a novelty for a player in this specific age group. On the 20th of October 1976, and 10 days before his 16th birthday, Diego made his official debut with Argentinos Juniors, as he became the youngest player in the history of the Argentine top flight. Diego knew from a young age how to play against older players and learned how to avoid tackles and kicks. He dribbled and jumped past tackles and push the ball forward without fear. Diego played well in the limited minutes he was given at club level and was successfully called up by the national team coach Cesar Minotti and made his national team debut at age 16 against Hungary in February of 1977. Maradona said in an interview at that time, "Everything happened too fast. I have to take it with a pinch of salt, because if I really think about it, it could drive me mad." In the beginning of 1977, Diego asked his close friend Jorge Spiller to represent him as an agent. He was considered the first ever agent of an Argentinian player ever and helped Diego negotiate his first professional contract in May of that year. It was Diego's first full season with the first team, as he helped a team short of talent in winning. He was young, but carried himself like a veteran, and quickly the team would hand him the captaincy. By the year 1978, Maradona was looking forward to being part of the national team squad when Argentina would earn the honor of hosting the World Cup. It would make him the youngest player ever to play in the World Cup, but the national team coach Cesar Minotti had other ideas and decided to omit Diego from the final selection, as he said he was very young and there were more experienced players in his position. That decision frustrated Diego badly, but his early fame did bring him some joy, as he managed to achieve his lifelong dream of meeting Pelé in Copacabana. As Pelé told the young star, "Accept applause, but do not live for it." It was a wonderful experience for the young Diego, as he said, "Meeting Pelé is the World Cup I didn't have." At 18 years of age, Maradona was attracting attention from other South American and even European clubs. His performances continued improving in the 78 season, as he ended the Metropolitano campaign as top goal scorer for the first time in his career by scoring 21 goals. In the summer and after Argentina won the World Cup, Diego received an official offer from English side Sheffield United. But at that time, Argentina was under a dictatorial regime, and with Minotti's advice, Diego was prohibited from being sold to any foreign club, and the official reason was to not hinder the plans of Minotti to achieve qualification to the Youth World Cup in Japan. But there were other political reasons which will be uncovered later. In the year 1979, Maradona had his best season yet. It established him as the most important figure in Argentine football. It was mainly because of his performances in the Youth World Cup in Japan that year, as Diego scored in 5 of their 6 matches and was named player of the tournament as he led his team to glory. Maradona said in his autobiography about that team, "That was by far the best team of my whole career." Earlier that same year, Maradona scored his first official goal with Argentina at Hampden Park against Scotland. Scottish legend Dennis Law said of Diego's performance, "Maradona has everything. There is nothing of his game you can fault. He is strong, brave, and skillful. He is an individual who works for the good of his team." Everybody wanted a piece of Maradona, especially the dictatorship in Argentina. Maradona was still naive and didn't have any clear political views. He was asked to serve his obligatory military service, but soon after, the military released him before his mandatory stint, as they deemed him more useful on the football pitches. And some people may think that the army had brainwashed Diego during that period, and that same military control had aided Argentinos in improving Maradona's contract with the club to persuade him to stay. He was Argentina's highest paid player, and the federation helped the club to achieve that in order to keep Maradona in the country and to protect Argentinian football. In the 1980 season, Diego scored 43 goals in 45 matches, as he helped a poor Argentinos team become runners-up in the league, which is considered one of Maradona's greatest achievements ever. In 1981, and after 12 years at Argentinos, Maradona decided finally at 20 years of age to transfer to Boca Juniors. It was a complicated transfer, as arch rivals River Plate had offered a better deal for Maradona, but Diego's desire was clear. For a sum of $4 million, Maradona transferred to Boca Juniors on loan for 16 months. Then Boca Juniors would pay another $4 million at the end of the loan to complete the permanent transfer. During these months at Boca, Maradona's life would change. He got to new heights of fame. Him and his partner Jorge created a company called Maradona Productions, which focused on luring in sponsors and monetizing the image of Diego Armando Maradona. This had officially set a benchmark for other players in the following years, as it offered a new and reliable source of income for footballers. Maradona was also one of the first players to create a medical team away from the club. The short period Maradona experienced at Boca was successful, despite his complicated relationship with the manager Silvio Marzolini. The duo of Maradona and Brindisi each scored 17 goals in the league that season, which helped the team clinch the Metropolitano title, which is the only club title Diego won in Argentinian football. But as months had passed, and after playing in numerous friendlies across the world to finance Diego's loan, Maradona felt exhausted because of the level of fame he got to in his home country. He couldn't possibly think of living a normal life ever again. He even contemplated the thought of quitting football altogether. By 1982, the American dollar had soared against the Argentinian peso, and government policies affected Boca Juniors financially and their ability to pay Maradona to secure his permanent transfer. So after 40 matches and 28 goals, Maradona played his last match for Boca Juniors in February of the same year. He then joined the Argentine national team to prepare for the most prestigious competition in the summer, the World Cup in Spain. Leading up to the World Cup, national team manager Cesar Menotti organized numerous friendlies to get his new squad to gel, which consisted of past World Cup champions of '78 and the talented youngsters of the Tokyo Youth World Championship. Maradona was one of football's superstars entering the tournament, alongside Zico and Rummenigge. They left Argentina looking for glory at a time the country was in a war with Britain over the Falkland Islands. Local media outlets, which was fueled by the government, always painted the picture of victory within the war to the players and the Argentine people. But in reality, it was a massacre. National team players started to learn the truth when they landed in Spain and saw the local news. The Argentines were affected on the pitch as they played badly in their opener against the Belgians, as both Maradona and his teammates showed little inspiration to overcome their defeat against the Europeans. Menotti's tactics didn't favor his star player, as he played as a lone striker at times, whereas their traditional striker Mario Kempes was kept deeper to assist in building up the play. This meant Diego struggled to get the ball in dangerous areas, as he was surrounded tightly by defenders. The chemistry of the squad was also off, as Maradona was not entirely accepted by the veterans as the #1 star. Despite that, Argentina did win their next 2 matches in the first group stage, as Maradona scored his first 2 World Cup goals against Hungary. But struggles would appear again in the second round as Argentina faced the Italians and the Brazilians. The first match against Italy is considered a turning point in football history. Italian national defender Gentile marked Maradona throughout the match and fouled him several times. The Italians committed an absurd and astonishing 23 fouls on the Argentinians, which is considered a World Cup record at that time. Italian midfielder Marco Tardelli, whom played in the match, said, "To stop Maradona, you have to use your hands, your feet, and kick him, because otherwise there is no way to stop him." The Italians won the match by 2-1, and their defensive display was praised back home, which gave them confidence to win the tournament. Maradona and Argentina lost against Brazil, as Diego was sent off after a bad challenge later in the match. He was fed up because of the violence he received throughout the tournament. It was not the best platform to introduce Maradona to the world, and was not tactically utilized by the manager, nor did the refs succeed in protecting him. During the tournament, Pelé wrote some articles for one of the famous Argentinian newspapers and said, "My main doubt is whether Diego has the sufficient greatness as a person to justify being honored by a worldwide audience." It was a start of a war of quotes between the rising star and the legend Pelé. But despite the disappointment, clubs were still interested in Diego Armando Maradona, and one of these prestigious clubs was adamant in giving Maradona the space to deliver his talents on the European stage. As early as 1979, Barcelona had reached an initial transfer agreement with Maradona, and by the year 1982, Barcelona president Josep Nunes saw Maradona as a strategic and important signing. He had just massively expanded the capacity of the Camp Nou, and it was easier to fill these seats and acquire more business partners and secure more loans with the best player in the world playing in your team. Maradona came to Barca in a record-breaking deal, and he was also the best paid player in the world. The signing actually happened before Maradona competed in the World Cup, so there was some skepticism surrounding the transfer, especially after fading with Argentina. Within that period, Barcelona were struggling after Johan Cruijff had left the club. Despite winning the Cup Winners' Cup in the previous season, Barcelona had failed to win the Spanish league since 1974, and they had only won the La Liga title once in the last 22 seasons. The Catalan club had only their prestigious name to save, but the president Nunez was adamant in changing that, as he invested a lot of money, but results on the pitch didn't reflect that. Maradona's arrival was a big part of the solution. Diego wanted to prove himself after the World Cup as well, especially on the European stage. That's why he eventually brought his entourage with him, which included his personal trainer and friend Fernando Signorini, and created an individual training regime for Diego. Maradona's entourage included his agent Jorge and Guillermo Blanco, who runs Diego's media affairs, which also made him the first press officer for a footballer ever. Inspired by Argentina's military regime, Diego wanted to control the media narrative surrounding him, especially when the critics appear from the trenches. Maradona quickly gained the trust of his teammates, which made him blend in and deliver good performances in the beginning of the season, despite him missing some matches because of injury. Barca teammate Carrasco advised Diego and warned him of going out at night in Barcelona. This warning comes because of Barca's complicated history with foreign players. Some of them succeeded in leading a quiet family life in Catalonia, like Johan Cruijff, while others fell into the trap of partying until the morning hours, like the Peruvian Hugo Sotil. Maradona found Carrasco's advice difficult to follow and quickly built a wall between him and the Barca management. When he was injured, he refused to be treated by the club's medical staff and sought assistance from his personal doctor. Maradona's relationship with management was very complicated. President Nunez said in November of 1982, a player must not only play football, but also lead an acceptable personal life. If he does not understand this, there is no point in punishing him. The best thing for him is to leave the club. Maradona responded, "I don't program anyone's life, and I don't want anyone to program mine." Slowly but surely, the Catalan media started to turn on the player, and Diego couldn't reply on the pitch after he suffered from hepatitis in December, which unfortunately kept him on the sidelines for 3 whole months. Maradona was in a bad place mentally in that period, as he confessed in an interview in 1998 that he started taking drugs in his first season with Barcelona. The shy Diego, whom everybody praised in Tokyo, slowly turned into the confident and brash Maradona in Barcelona. After recovering from illness, Diego failed to rediscover his form, and the manager Udo Lattek was fired after failing in the league and suffering a humiliating loss in the Cup Winners' Cup, and was replaced by the Argentinian manager Menotti in March of 1983. Barcelona and Maradona managed to salvage something from the season after beating Real Madrid in the Copa del Rey final, but ended the season in 4th position in the Spanish league and 6 points away from the champions Atletico Bilbao. Maradona, despite the issues and injuries, ended the season with 23 goals in all competitions. But the team's tactics and style of play, which focused on long balls, didn't suit Diego, so the manager Menotti changed that style in the beginning of the new season. The Argentinian manager focused on a more technical style of play with quick passes on the ground and a lot of touches by Diego. Menotti gave both Maradona and Costa free roles up front in attacking spaces, but before the team had the chance to make use of these new tactics, Maradona would suffer from another major setback. The injury came in the beginning of the season, after the manager Menotti criticized the defensive and destructive type of football utilized by some La Liga managers. And one of those managers Menotti focused on was the La Liga winning manager the previous season with Atletico Bilbao, the Spaniard Javier Clemente. The war of words between the two managers continued until Barca faced Bilbao in La Liga in the 4th game week of the season. The match started with Barca earning a commanding 2-0 lead before the end of the first half, but disaster struck for Maradona in the second. After that brutal tackle on Maradona, Bilbao defender Goycochea received a yellow card, but the federation decided to suspend him for 10 matches, while Maradona suffered irreparable damage to his ankle and was out yet again for 3.5 months. Diego came back in January of 1984 with an ankle that offered him limited movement and had to wear specially designed boots. Despite that, he scored a brace against Sevilla in his return, but Barcelona suffered without their superstar as the Catalan club were behind Real Madrid and Bilbao in the La Liga standings. After a few weeks, Diego faced Bilbao again. Despite the numerous tackles between the two sides, Maradona managed to score a brace to give his side an important victory away from home. But despite these great performances, Maradona never got praise and appreciation from the Catalan media. But Barca was Barca. No amount of individual brilliance would make up for Barcelona's failure in winning silverware, as the Catalan club ended the season in third position behind Madrid and the champions Bilbao again. Maradona's relationship with Barca, the fans and the media would take yet another bad turn in their Cup Winners' Cup quarter-final encounter against Manchester United. Diego was still suffering from back pains and was given several painkillers just to go out and play. But he played a poor match in the first leg at the Camp Nou, a match that Barcelona ended up winning. Maradona was subbed off before the end and heard boos echoing down on him from the Camp Nou stands. All the criticism from the media, the injuries and the party painted an ugly picture of Maradona in the eyes of the Catalans and confirmed that he was not worth the money. Maradona responded to the boos and said, "The Catalans are very special. It's like I'm stealing their own money." Diego decided at that moment to leave Barcelona. Barcelona lost the second leg by 3-0 and were out of another competition. There was only one competition left to salvage the season, the Copa del Rey final against Atletico Bilbao. Clemente's team were very confident, especially after winning the Spanish league for the second time in a row, and decided to light the fires with their quotes before the match, as Clemente labeled Diego an idiot. Every single thing that happened to Maradona during the last 2 seasons at Barcelona would spark into an all-out brawl at the Santiago Bernabeu. After Bilbao sealed the final with a solitary goal, the Basque players celebrated around the stadium, and one of them went close to Maradona and sarcastically waved him goodbye. And this was the last spark that fueled the infamous brawl.
Sobre Maradona, ya hay un enzarzamiento general, ahí lo ven ustedes, de Maradona con varios jugadores del Athletic de Bilbao. Ha llegado ahora Miguel y le ha golpeado también Clos sobre Pachi Salinas. Y atención.
Menotti commented after the match and said, "I have never seen anything like that. If what we saw today was just an ordinary match, then football is dead." Maradona was suspended for 7 matches, and that sealed the end of his story at Barcelona. Diego would later remember his stay at Barcelona as the unhappiest period of his career. Within 2 seasons, Diego scored 38 goals in 58 matches, won 3 cups, but didn't get the chance to play a season without injury, without controversy, and without a period of normality. But when would we ever see Maradona have a normal period? In the following seasons. The goal of Maradona and his agent Jorge was clear. They had to leave Barcelona, as Diego's relationship with Barca's management was unfixable. Barca Vice President Joan Gaspar tried to offer Maradona an improved contract to stay, but it was rejected, and that confirmed the end of his chapter with Barcelona. Napoli were strong frontrunners to sign Maradona, despite interest from Juventus. Surprisingly, Napoli managed to acquire the needed funds to acquire Diego's services, despite their owner not being one of the wealthiest figures when compared to Italy's biggest clubs. It appeared that someone powerful behind the scenes helped facilitate the funds. After complicated negotiations, Maradona was sold to Napoli for a world record fee of $7.5 million. Napoli president Corrado Ferlaino said in a recent interview, Napoli was not a great team, but Maradona never knew. The third largest Italian city in terms of population didn't have a successful club and never had tasted success since they were founded in 1926. the team was always in the shadow of their more successful northern neighbors and barely missed relegation by a single point the previous season before Maradona's arrival. Napoli was also a city of many issues, like unemployment and escalating violence from the famous mafia of the region, the Camorra. Maradona was also joining the strongest league in the world, as he joined stars such as Platini and Boniek at Juve, Rummenigge at Inter, Falcao and Cerezo at Roma, Zico at Udinese, and the list goes on and on. But Diego's arrival at Napoli gave fans some hope, as 70,000 people attended to watch the introduction of Maradona at the São Paulo Stadium. Diego saw a lot in common between the two cities, Napoli and Buenos Aires. In his first press conference, Maradona was asked whether he was aware that part of his transfer was paid by the Camorra. The Napoli president Ferlaino interrupted the journalist and asked him to leave. The Camorra Mafia identified Maradona as an exploitable public figure, but their first approach to him would be slightly delayed. Maradona's first season was proven to be a difficult one, and didn't meet the high and unrealistic expectations set by the fans. And Maradona quickly noticed how the Southerners in Italy were perceived when he played his first match against Hellas Verona away. Diego saw a banner that read, "Welcome to Italy," as if the South was not part of the country. Maradona aired his grievance on TV and said in an interview, "There is a racism problem in Italian football, but not against the black people. There is racism against the Neapolitans." Diego quickly became a citizen of Naples and quickly implemented the motto of the city, which was "Uno di noi," us against the rest, which suited Maradona's history and his simple background. But Napoli struggled on the pitch and won only 4 out of their 15 opening matches in Serie A. Maradona had to adapt to the aggressive and defensive style of Italian football. The manager Rino Marchesi didn't find the right balance, as Diego was not receiving the ball and was usually isolated and had to come deep in the back to build up play. Diego's teammates complained of the tight marking around the Argentinian, so it was hard to find and pass him the ball. But Diego refused to accept those excuses and said, "Pass it to me anyway, and I'll find a way." Napoli's results took a positive upturn as they barely tasted defeat in the second half of the season. That run included a historic 4-0 win against Lazio as Maradona scored a hat-trick, which included one of his best goals ever. Despite Maradona's huge efforts in scoring 17 goals and assisting a further 11 to his teammates in 36 matches in all competitions, Napoli couldn't overcome their slow start to the season and settled for 8th position in the league. Maradona was complaining a lot to management and was given the task of picking some players to sign, as the Frenchman Alessandro Ranica joined the club, and in the following years, other players came as well based on Diego's recommendations. And the manager Rino Marchesi was replaced by Ottavio Bianchi, who brought the work ethic and pragmatism that Napoli desperately needed. Napoli's goal was to improve and lay solid foundations for success, and in this new season, Napoli and Maradona showed real glimpses of greatness. And following a few positive results in the beginning of the season, which included a huge win against champions Hellas Verona by 5-0, the team faced the Bianconeri at the São Paulo, and thanks to a genius indirect free kick from Maradona, they claimed a historic win over the Bianconeri. It was astonishingly Napoli's first league win over the Bianconeri in 12 whole years, and it made the Napoli tifosi believe in the Maradona and Napoli project. But despite the positive work on the pitch, there is always two sides to the Maradona story. In public and in front of the fans, Diego was a man of good deeds, like his collaboration with UNICEF and his numerous charities he does to help poor people around the world. Journalist Bruno Passarella said, "The generosity that Maradona was capable of then is unimaginable in the cold world of money that football subsequently became. But behind the scenes, Diego was taking a wrong turn. He started entering the Napoli underground and secret life along with the Camorra Mafia, whom looked at Maradona as a source of power. In return for this relationship, the Camorra satisfied all of Maradona's needs, and unlike his complicated time at Barcelona, in Napoli, he was protected and unchallenged by the media and authorities. It was this underground life in which Maradona would face his demons for the rest of his life. It was at this time that Maradona would break up with his old friend and agent Jorge, citing that he was responsible for Maradona's accumulating debts. But in reality, Diego was careless with his money, as he would go on extensive and never-ending spending sprees. Diego brought a new agent named Guillermo Coppola, who lived the luxurious life and provided Maradona with everything he needed. Maradona's life was slowly shifting, as he lived the life of a king that refuses any critique. But he always had one person by his side, his personal trainer, Fernando Signorini, that brought the realism and professionalism back to Maradona's life. Despite Maradona's complicated personal life, Napoli were a much improved side, as they claimed the third position in the Italian league, which also meant they qualified to Europe and proved to all the challengers that this was a real project. Maradona ended the season with 13 goals and also assisted a further 6 to his teammates in 31 matches in all competitions. At 25 years of age, and with his great performances in the last few years, Maradona was yet to reach worldwide fandom and was yet to deliver true dominance on the European and global stage. Thus, he set his sights on the upcoming tournament with the Argentine national team, the 1986 World Cup in Mexico. In December of 1983, and after 7 years of a military dictatorship, Argentina democratically elected their first president. The country was rebuilt in the following years, and the nation was optimistic. And in football terms, the Argentine Federation hired the manager Carlos Bilardo within that period, a young manager who succeeded in introducing attractive football to the Argentine league. Bilardo would soon begin his tactical discussions with Maradona since he was at Barcelona, and handed him the captaincy from veteran defender Passarella, which was a difficult and controversial decision. But Bilardo saw the young Diego as the perfect leader. Despite these positive changes, the Argentine national team suffered in their World Cup qualifiers and barely qualified to the competition in Mexico. Even Passarella was candid and said, "If we don't improve, we won't go very far in the World Cup." The issues of the team stemmed from internal tensions between the players. After the last friendly before the World Cup, there was a players-only meeting, as voices were raised and curses were shouted between the players. Eventually, they ended the meeting with a treaty, a very fragile one. In Mexico, Maradona looked to be in the peak of his physical and mental powers, despite his steep into addiction. And the poor infrastructure of the World Cup, which the rest of the teams complained about, was an advantage for the Argentinians, whom all lived and slept under the same roof during the competition, which helped in strengthening the harmony of the squad. But tournament conditions were poor overall, as pollution levels and temperatures were very high, and the stadium pitches were all dry as well. Maradona was one of the first players to criticize FIFA, but FIFA President João Havelange ordered him to shut up and play, as Maradona responded and said, "I was asking that they consult the players, the real owners of the show, because without us, they are nothing." Argentina managed to convert this newfound harmony into positive results in the group stages, after winning against the Koreans and the Bulgarians, and also drawing against the Italians. Maradona scored a goal and assisted a further 4 during this group stage. They went on to face the Uruguayans in the second round, and without scoring a goal, Maradona was influential, as the Argentinians settled for a single goal to qualify, to set up a quarter-final match against England. It was hard to separate politics from football on the day of the match, especially after the Falkland War between the two countries. But Maradona told his teammates to focus. Bobby Robson and his side succeeded in playing a slower tempo to end the first half with a goalless draw. But everything changed in the second half when Maradona scored two vastly different goals, which will be remembered in the history books forever. When we try to analyze these two goals, they almost seem like polar opposites, but they belong to the same man. They represent Maradona's vastly different characters: the ugly and the beautiful, the cheat and the honest, the realist and the creative. England managed to fight back and score a goal through Lineker, and were so close to equalizing, but the match ended with Argentina winning in controversial circumstances. Maradona repeated after the match to his teammates about the handball, "It's like I stole a thief's wallet." While in the presser after the match, he insisted that he scored with his head. Argentine journalist Ezequiel Moores commented on that goal recently and said, "Football is a game of roles. If someone does not understand that, they don't understand this game." While English manager Bobby Robson was evidently angry in his presser and said,
"And Maradona handled the ball into the goal, didn't he? Didn't he?"
Victory against England gave the Argentinians a dose of confidence as Maradona scored a brace against Belgium in the next round and won easily.
Going at them again. Brilliant run by Maradona. Fantastic goal. Unbelievable.
They qualified to the World Cup final for the third time in their history and faced West Germany, whom were finalists in the previous World Cup as well. German star Lothar Matthäus was given the task of closely man-marking Maradona throughout the match, and it worked in the first half, as Maradona couldn't influence the match. But despite that, Argentina did score the opener, and went on to score a second in the second half. But on brand, the Germans never gave up, and came back to equalize within 6 minutes. But in the decisive moments, Maradona appeared again to finally unlock the German marking. Argentina were world champions for the second time, and Maradona was a main factor in that, as he gave one of the most complete performances ever in a World Cup. He had a hand in 10 out of Argentina's 14 goals in the tournament, and it was this triumph that separated Maradona from the rest. As his teammate Jorge Valdano said, it made him an immediate hero. At that moment, it was finally sealed. He had become the myth we read about today, the legend Diego Armando Maradona. Maradona returned to Buenos Aires as a champion and was welcomed as such in Napoli. Maradona rose to the top of the world in terms of fame, but remained focused on achieving his new goal, which was delivering Napoli's elusive first league title after a 60-year wait. The team was bolstered with names such as Di Napoli and Carnevale, and also the return of young defender Ciro Ferrara from Alone. They had a real fighting chance of competing, but Maradona always surprises us with disasters. And that's exactly what happened after Napoli's win in their opening match against Brescia. News got its way to Diego's camp that Rai TV was about to broadcast an interview with a woman who claims she just gave birth to Maradona's child. The proposition was that Maradona would claim responsibility for the child, and in return the interview would not be broadcasted around the nation. Maradona immediately refused, claiming that the child was not his. And so after a short period, the interview was broadcasted around the country. Maradona had a disastrous match against Udinese and refused to comment on the matter. The day the baby was registered under the name Diego Armando Jr. in October, Napoli were eliminated in the UEFA Cup and Maradona missed a crucial penalty. And told the reporters after the match, "It's the worst moment of my life." The birth of this child was a fundamental turning point in Maradona's story. This untouchable man was suddenly down on his knees, and for the first time in his life, he was not the sole writer of his own story. And that affected his demeanor, and suddenly drugs were not used for leisure, but turned into a necessity for Diego, a necessity to escape this reality. Maradona found comfort within the Napoli squad and with his teammates. In a show of support, club captain Giuseppe Broscolotti handed the captaincy to Maradona permanently, and Diego was moved to tears and said, "You've given me something I'll never forget. As a captain, I will bring the title." Diego ordered the club to open its doors for the fans during training sessions, as he wanted to strengthen his bond with the fans to push him out of the gutter. And the results gradually improved as they won a statement league victory away at Juve in November. As Maradona was back to his best. 9 wins out of the next 15 league matches, which included another crucial win against Juve, pushed Napoli to the top of the league standings. Maradona had finally mastered the art of unpicking the variety of defensive strategies in Serie A, and also mastered the ability to avoid hard tackles from defenders. Maradona's goal against Milan at the San Paolo almost sealed the title. But only a draw would be enough for Napoli in their last match against Fiorentina at home. The Neapolitans were ready for a big party, as Napoli scored first and Fiorentina ended up earning a draw. The ref signaled the end of the match, which ignited the biggest party of Napoli's history.
È finita, il Napoli è campione d'Italia. Che hai sentito? Che hai provato, Diego?
La cosa più grande della mia vita, veramente, perché io ho vinto qualcosa, però
Campione del mondo.
no, il problema è che non l'ho vinto nella mia terra, capito? Questa è la festa più importante della mia vita.
Napoli won the double as well, after winning the Coppa Italia final, which made them the first southern Italian club to earn a league and cup double. Maradona and his teammates finally confirmed that the south of Italy was on par with the north. Overall, Maradona was not at the level of his World Cup performances, but still managed to score 17 goals and assist a further 7 to his teammates in 41 matches in all competitions. And he did that in what is considered the strongest and toughest league in the world. Maradona's agent Coppola managed to secure many new sponsorship deals for Diego, but his most important deal was to secure Maradona's contract extension with Napoli for a further 6 years all the way to 1993, and was also paid $12 million annually, which was considered the most expensive contract in football history at that time. In that season, Napoli signed the Brazilian Cruijff, and together with Maradona and Giordano, it formed the most feared attacking trio in the league, the famous Magica Trio. Cruijff said, "I chose Napoli because my dream was to play alongside Maradona." That deadly trio went on to score 36 out of the team's 55 goals that season. And this trio also pushed the team to a fantastic start, as they won 9 out of their opening 12 matches in the league. Juventus were struggling after Platini's early retirement, while Milan was building a new and strong team under new rossoneri president Silvio Berlusconi. Their first encounter cemented Milan's title challenge and their superiority, as they won by 4 goals to 1 against Napoli.
And a classic goal again for Milan.
But Maradona and his teammates' reaction after that loss was very positive, as Maradona managed to score in 6 consecutive matches in the league and pushed his team to the top of the standings with 5 matches to go. A second title was on the cards, but there was something brewing intensively for Maradona behind the scenes. Maradona reached new heights of fame in Napoli, couldn't do a single thing in the city outside the confines of his house. He was stuck in a golden prison. And here comes the role of the Camorra Mafia yet again. They offered Maradona an escape and satisfied all of his needs. And this was the secret life which was mentioned earlier. The Camorra were Maradona's principal cocaine supplier, as Diego's addiction was getting worse with every passing day. Maradona used to play a match on Sunday, and then the partying, drinking, and cocaine sniffing starts after that until Wednesday. Then he would sweat it out until Saturday to prepare for his next match. He did that for basically the rest of his career until he retired. In some cases, he would be clean for a month or two, which usually coincides with the end of the season when competition is tough. Napoli president Corrado Ferlaino revealed in a 2003 interview that many footballers took drugs during that period, while Maradona said that there was always drugs in football, but he never took cocaine to improve his performance, and said, "Do you know the player I would have been if I hadn't taken drugs?" But all of this opened a quagmire for Maradona. He was now a tool for the Camorra, and this gang was famous for their unofficial and intricate betting system in Naples. Luigi Giuliano, a police informant and nephew of one of the heads of the Camorra, confessed that they used to fix football matches. So now we arrive at the scene of the crime. Napoli were on top with 5 matches to go, and suddenly the team lost 4 matches and drew a single one. One of these matches was a pivotal encounter against challengers Milan at the San Paolo. And thus Napoli lost the Scudetto. All the Neapolitans betted on their team to win the title, and if Napoli had won the Scudetto, the Camorra family would go bankrupt. There was no actual proof of this case, but during the season, one of Maradona's cars was destroyed, and there were robberies at some of the Napoli players' houses as a way to pressure them. Despite all of this pressure, Maradona had one of his best seasons ever, as he scored 15 goals in the league, which was a league best, as he was named the Capocannoniere. He scored a total of 21 goals and assisted a further 11 to his teammates in 37 matches in all competitions. Marseille, Madrid, and even Milan tried to lure Diego out of Napoli during that period. But whenever they met him and his agent in Naples, they were met with intimidation from the Camorra Mafia. There was also accusations from the fans aimed at Diego, as they thought he lost the Scudetto intentionally. Maradona said in his autobiography, "I never thought I'd be accused. I was ready to leave Napoli if people thought there was a player who had sold out." So he was determined to stay and show the truth to everybody. The new season started, and the president decided to renew the manager's contract. Bianchi and Maradona's relationship was complicated because of Maradona's recurrent absences from training sessions. But despite that, Napoli performed well and were battling on all 3 available fronts. The team especially excelled in the UEFA Cup, but injuries started to hamper Maradona's availability. He would suddenly declare himself unfit and unavailable to play in several league matches, but managed to come back just in time to play both the first and second leg against Bayern Munich in the semi-final stage of the UEFA Cup. Maradona managed to assist all of Napoli's 4 goals against the Germans. As the Italians would go on to headline their first European final ever. Their final against another German side, Stuttgart, would see a goal fest, as Maradona scored a goal and assisted a further 3 to seal Napoli's first European title. At that moment, Maradona had received an offer from French side Marseille before the final, and Maradona tried to convince the president Ferlaino to let him go.
Io ho detto che le do la possibilità a Ferlaino a cacciare Maradona. Ferlaino sa cosa fare. Io non obbligo mai a nessuno.
But the president refused and said to the reporters, "Maradona will stay in Napoli as long as I want him to stay in Napoli." Maradona's relationship with the president was almost broken by that point, and the trust between them was shattered, especially as the president never bought Maradona's excuses for his several absences during the season, and trusted the press, which said that Maradona was absent because of his excessive lifestyle and partying all night. Maradona responded and said, "If the president doesn't believe me and believes the press, I cannot continue here." Following the final against Stuttgart, Diego missed several matches at the end of the Italian league season. In the last match at the San Paolo, Maradona asked to be substituted at the 70th minute because of a muscular injury, and some sections of the fans started to boo him. Napoli eventually ended the season in second position, a whole 11 points behind champions Inter Milan. Individually, Maradona had a great season on paper, as he scored 19 goals and assisted a further 18 to his teammates in 50 matches in all competitions. But Maradona's extravagant lifestyle, erratic mood and temperament, tense relationships, and constant injuries were taking a huge toll on him. Something had to be changed. Maradona's contract with Napoli, which extended to 1993, made it hard for Diego to change the course of his career. He left in the summer of '89 to Argentina and threatened to never come back. The Neapolitans and club officials felt betrayed, but Maradona insisted that there was a conspiracy against him and his family, as he mentioned in his autobiography. He also mentioned in an interview that Napoli was a city of crime. Media outlets replied with a bombshell when they finally published old pictures of Maradona sitting with several members of the Camorra, with the goal of exposing Maradona and to counter his claims of violence. They also shared threatening words from the fans and did many polls that pointed the finger of blame towards Diego. Maradona had no choice but to get back, but he had one condition: the manager Bianchi had to leave. President Fellaino had to oblige and fire Bianchi, as the more diplomatic Albertino Bigon was assigned in his position with the intention of keeping Diego happy. Maradona came back motivated, not because of the changes in the club, but because he was excited of the prospect of playing in another World Cup in the summer of 1990. So he wanted to be ready and trained harder than ever, and managed to shed some weight as well. The battle for the Scudetto was fierce between Napoli and Milan, as Napoli was suffering from internal conflicts with the fans and external conflicts with media outlets as well. It was a difficult season, but results remained positive. In the first 9 matches following Maradona's return, the Argentinian managed to score 6 goals and assist a further 5, as Napoli topped the standings. But Milan reclaimed the lead in the second phase of the season, despite Maradona's braces against Roma and Juve. With 4 fixtures to go, Milan had a 1-point lead on Napoli in the league standings. But the Rossoneri slipped up in the last few fixtures, and with Napoli winning all their matches, the Scudetto was back in their grasp. The final match at the San Paolo against Lazio was won by a single goal thanks to a set-piece assist by Maradona. The celebrations were not like 1987, but the fans were very happy with this huge achievement.
Primo scudetto, arrivato il secondo. Che pensa? Penso che questi altri 2 scudetti in mezzo non l'abbiamo vinti. Comunque, i prossimi... Ma mamma mia, guarda, no? Ma presidente, lo dobbiamo lasciare anche che vinca un altro, no? Se no
Maradona ended the season with 18 goals and assisted a further 10 in 36 matches in all competitions, and was now preparing for the prospect of winning the most prestigious prize in football for the second time in a row. This time the tournament would be played in a familiar territory, as the World Cup hosts were Italy. Under the manager Bilardo again, the Argentinians started their title defense campaign. The squad was more or less the same from the one in 1986, but the team was not one of the favorites for the title, as they won only 7 out of their last 34 matches since the 1986 final. But they had a motivated Maradona, who stopped taking cocaine, building up to the World Cup. But the Argentine leader was not in the best shape physically, as he nursed an ankle injury throughout the previous season. The Argentine national team took part in a tough group stage, as they lost their opener against Cameroon and amassed only 4 points out of their first 3 matches in the group. But fortunately for them, they just about qualified to the next round to face their returning rivals, the Brazilian national team. Maradona managed to assist the only goal of the match, which was scored by Claudio Caniggia to send his team to the next round. Their quarter-final encounter against the Yugoslavians was an eventless match and went to penalty kicks as Maradona missed his spot kick. But Argentina managed to see it through and get to the semi-finals. And who was waiting for them in the semi-finals? The hosts, the Italians. And on which stadium? Napoli's ground, the San Paolo. Maradona was ready with his mind games and said to his teammates that he'll divide Italy today, and said to reporters, after so much racism, it is only now that Italians remember that Naples is part of Italy. For 364 days, they talk of the Southerners that stink. Italian midfielder Aldo Serena said that Diego's statement surprised the public and squad alike. He also said that the Italian crowd was not like the one they had in Rome in the previous round. Maradona succeeded in dividing them.
Comunque io voglio dire una cosa a tutti i tifosi italiani. Noi a Napoli abbiamo avuto tutto da Diego Armando Maradona e io sono il primo a comprare il biglietto per tifare l'Argentina. Forza Argentina!
All of this was reflected during the match, as Maradona was being insulted and whistled at constantly. The challengers and attackers from both sides were aggressive to say the least. Italy scored the opener and Argentina managed to equalize in the second half. And despite having one player sent off, the Argentinians defended well and managed to hold the score all the way to the dreaded penalty kicks. Maradona scored his penalty this time. The Argentinian keeper Goicoechea saved the last two penalties from the Italians and gave his side the crucial win.
And it's all over. The host nation's dream ends.
Maradona mentioned in his autobiography how senior FIFA officials wanted to see a final between Italy and West Germany, and how Argentina destroyed all their plans. As he said, we've made it a total disaster, and of course, we had to pay. The 1990 World Cup final played at the Olimpico Stadium in Rome saw a battle between a strong West Germany side and a decimated Argentina side suffering from several injuries. Maradona was angry and frustrated even before the match had begun, as the Italians in the stand booed the Argentine national anthem. Maradona was absolutely convinced they were about to be robbed, and after an eventless first half, and in the 65th minute, an Argentine player was sent off after a reckless challenge. It was the first sending off in a World Cup final ever, and 5 minutes before the end of regulation, Rudi Völler won a penalty. Both Breme and Mateus admitted recently that the referee was wrong, and the penalty was too soft to be given, but Breme converted the penalty successfully, as the Germans won after full time.
There it is. West Germany win the World Cup for the third time.
Maradona ignored FIFA President Javi Lange when receiving his runner-up medal. He never accepted that defeat his whole life. That match signaled the end of a chapter in Maradona's story, and signaled the end of Maradona's relationship with Italian football and FIFA. Diego embarked in the dark and unknown, bruised, addicted, and devoid of passion. It looked to be the severe decline of Diego Maradona. Maradona came back to Napoli in preparation for the new season in a mentally bad shape. His drug addiction was spiraling out of control. Not even a convincing and comfortable 5-1 win against Juventus in the Italian Super Cup helped put him in a positive mindset. He fired his agent and friend Guillermo Coppola, cancelled all his commercial obligations, missed some training sessions, and missed several league matches. His new agent Marcus Franchi told him, "You can't be a player living like an ex-player." But one pivotal European Cup match Maradona almost missed pushed Napoli to the edge of what they can tolerate. After Napoli won in the first round of the European Cup by 5 goals, the Italian side faced off against Russian champion Spartak Moscow in the second round. After a goalless draw at the San Paolo, Napoli traveled to Moscow to seal the tie. But there was one crucial player missing, as Maradona missed the flight with the team and was sleeping after being hungover and partying all night. Maradona eventually woke up and traveled to Moscow in a private jet, but was late to the last preparations for the match, as the club handed Maradona's place to a young Italian talent whose name was Zola, and was given the number 10 shirt. Maradona eventually entered the second half while wearing the number 16 match remained goalless and went to penalty kicks. Maradona scored his penalty, but Napoli lost the shootout. Throughout his career, Maradona only played in 6 matches in the European Cup and didn't have a lasting memory from it. This early exit cost Napoli millions. President Fellaino, along with sporting director Luciano Moggi, decided that Maradona's volatile behavior could not be tolerated anymore. His performances were not justifying it. Obviously, both of them agreed they couldn't sell him because they feared the reaction of the Neapolitans, but they decided they can no longer protect him. And by protecting him, they meant protecting Maradona from the secret he hides, which was considered the worst kept secret in all of Italy. The club would no longer hide his drug abuse anymore. When Maradona came back from his long winter break, both the club and the Camorra wanted to push him towards the exit. Thus, they started leaking to big Italian newspapers. Everybody knew that Maradona took drugs, but there was no real evidence at that moment. But with the help of the Camorra, the treason commenced, and thus Maradona was charged with the use and distribution of cocaine in February of 1991. After some witnesses spoke out. Maradona, as ever, felt that this was a vendetta against him, from FIFA, whom felt threatened by his accusations, or from the Italian Football Federation, whom were tightening their doping controls, or from his club Napoli, who could no longer defend him, or even from the Camorra, who no longer needed his power. The narrative officially shifted. Maradona was now the hero. Even La Repubblica published a poll that indicated that Maradona was the most hated person in Italy. But it got even worse for Maradona. Diego continued training with Napoli, despite his and the club's decision to part ways. But there was one last incident that ended everything for good.
Nell'immediato dopo partita, Napoli-Bari, Diego Maradona fu chiamato per il controllo.
Era trasladado hacia los tribunales para ser interrogado por segunda vez en menos de 24 horas. El propio presidente Menem.
Greece soccer star Diego Maradona is now in hiding after being hit with a 15-month worldwide suspension for using cocaine. The career of one of the all-time greats is all but over.
After Maradona failed a doping test on March of 1991, the Italian Federation banned Diego for 15 whole months until June of 1992. Was this in a way a cry for help from Diego? He mentioned in his autobiography that he tested positive almost on purpose and said, "I was pushing the limit. I knew I could get caught at any moment." But Maradona was absolutely convinced that many players took drugs with him. But funnily enough, only him and his Argentine teammate Caniggia were ever caught in the Italian league. Despite him playing mainly as a playmaker, Maradona ended this chapter with Napoli as their all-time top goal scorer at that time, as he scored 115 goals in 257 matches. He also scored 30 free kicks and assisted a further 71 goals as well. He successfully brought a winning mentality to a team that not once had tasted victory. In that season without Maradona, Napoli fell to 8th position and never even competed for the title in the following years, until they fell to the 2nd division in 2 occasions and went bankrupt. Maradona said in his autobiography, "They made me pay because I prevented Italy from being in the World Cup final." In the end, he left the country with 4 unresolved court cases, and it took several years of sporting and political frustration in Napoli for Maradona to rightfully reclaim his place as an honorary citizen of the city. In July of 1992, Napoli requested Maradona to report back just in time for pre-season training. Maradona refused to go back to a country that he thought was guilty of everything that happened to him. His agent Marcus Franchi asked Catalan agent Josep Mangala for help, and with the approval of President Fellaino, they agreed to find a new club for Maradona, but Fellaino refused to sell him to another Italian club. During that period, ex-national team manager Carlos Bilardo was managing Sevilla, and Josep Mangala suggested the idea to the Spanish club to sign Maradona. And following one of the most complicated negotiations ever, Maradona was back in La Liga again. There was also a helping hand in this transfer, which was FIFA. They wanted to see the player ready for the 1994 World Cup in the United States to make the tournament much more exciting. With the arrival of the Argentinian, Sevilla sold a record number of season tickets that season, as he made his official debut in October of 1992. He appeared as a different man, much more settled. At least that's what it seemed at first. But Maradona was still suffering from annoying injuries and played with a lot of painkillers each match. But he still had some flashes of the old Maradona. As he played a great match in a win against Real Madrid. But Maradona's body couldn't handle all this physical stress anymore. At 32 years of age, and with Diego's history of drugs, alcohol, and excessive lifestyle, it finally caught up to him, as he missed several training sessions. What happened on the ground was far from the expectations of fans and management alike, as Maradona's relationship with the club would sour after he and his teammate Simeone traveled to Argentina to partake in friendly matches with the national team against the club's wishes. From that moment, Maradona's motivation was waning, as he sat himself out from some official matches, and for Sevilla, they took a big hit financially and tried to change the conditions of Maradona's contract. On the other hand, Maradona felt that the club didn't trust him at all, especially as they sent a private investigator to follow his private life. The nail in the coffin came in a league match against Burgos in June of 1993. Diego was suffering from pain and took painkillers at halftime to try to play the second half. But Bilardo subbed his star 7 minutes after the restart. Maradona threw the captain's armband and verbally insulted Bilardo. They then were involved in a fight at Diego's house. It was clearly over. After 30 matches and 7 goals, Sevilla ripped up Maradona's contract. Diego left European football while being 10 kilos overweight, and there were no real indications that he'll ever come back to football again. The Argentine national team had coped without Maradona within that period, as they won the Copa America in 1991 and 1993 with a new generation of stars, but the squad was struggling in the 1994 World Cup qualifiers. In September of 1993, Maradona was in the stands of the Monumental Stadium, witnessing a massacre on the pitch, as the Colombian national team scored 5 goals without reply on Argentina's home soil. At that moment, the fans started chanting Maradona's name, asking for his return. Only a week later, Diego accepted an offer from Newell's Old Boys, and following his debut with the club, and for the first time in 8 months, he got called up to the Argentine national team for a crucial match against Australia in the World Cup playoffs. FIFA and other major sponsors were desperate for Maradona to appear in the 1994 World Cup, as a survey suggested that 90% of the US population were not aware that a World Cup was being held in their backyard, but the population knew Maradona. Argentina won the second leg and qualified to the World Cup at the expense of Australia, but there was an issue. Maradona found it difficult to recover from his matches and played only 5 official matches with Old Boys before the two sides agreed to rescind his contract in January of 1994. But Maradona wanted to play in the World Cup at all costs, so he called his friend and personal trainer Signorini and bodybuilding coach Daniel Chirini and went to a place called La Pampa, away from all the reporters, the nightlife and the drugs. After a few months, Maradona lowered his weight considerably and took part in several friendlies and was ready for Argentina's first match of the World Cup campaign against Greece in the match, Maradona looked graceful as ever and managed to score a beautiful goal. Maradona's reaction was like a scream of vengeance aimed at all his critics, to everyone that thought he was finished in the sport. In the second match, Argentina faced the Nigerians and managed to come back and score 2 goals with the help of Maradona. Maradona was asked to take a typical doping test after the match. He happily and calmly answered the request as he was escorted by a FIFA helper. But this was the moment when everything ended for Maradona again. The tests came back positive for a banned substance called ephedrine, which was a substance that could be bought over the counter in the United States, which helps in shedding weight. Maradona was not aware of this substance within his diet, which was prepared by his bodybuilding coach Daniel Cherini. After heated and long discussions, FIFA decided to pull Maradona out of the tournament.
And until the case is finally settled, Diego Maradona remains suspended from all footballing activity.
In August of 1994, Maradona was given a 15-month ban from all football activities. Nowadays, ephedrine is not considered a doping substance by FIFA, and questions are still asked about FIFA and their decision to not do their doping tests when Maradona played in the World Cup playoff. They clearly wanted him in the World Cup. Throughout his career, Maradona earned 91 caps for Argentina and scored 34 goals. His 94 World Cup campaign was his last involvement in international football as a player.
Lo único que quiero que quede claro a los argentinos que no me drogué, que no corrí por la droga, corrí por el corazón y por la familia. Nada más. Si yo llego a esta condición, no necesito drogarme para jugar. Si yo entreno como entreno, ¿qué necesidad tengo de buscar una droga? Decir, no quiero dramatizar, pero créeme que me cortaron las piernas.
Diego's ban stopped him from playing until September of 1995. But despite that, Maradona did test his managerial skills during that period. But the experiment was a failure, as after disastrous results and rifts with management, he left 2 clubs after a few months. Maradona talked about management and said, "I can't teach players things which nobody can do except me." Within that period, Maradona received the Ballon d'Or from France Football in recognition of his career. And following the conclusion of his ban, Diego returned to the pitch with Boca Juniors. At 36 years of age, Maradona was still capable of producing some fantastic moments, but his physical prowess was limited to say the least, and some injuries made him miss several league matches. In August of 1996, Maradona disappeared from the pitch for 11 months, as he was badly sinking into his drug addiction. In 1997, Maradona came back for the 3rd time to Boca Juniors, but failed in a doping test within the season after taking cocaine, and was banned by the Argentine Federation. By his 37th birthday, Maradona finally announced his retirement from football after one last match. After 692 matches and 352 goals, and after lifting 11 official titles, Diego Armando Maradona was no longer a footballer.
Yo traté de ser feliz jugando al fútbol y hacerlo feliz a todos ustedes. Creo que lo logré y la verdad que hoy no me lo esperaba, porque esto es demasiado para una persona, demasiado para un jugador de fútbol. Le agradezco con mi corazón, porque se equivoque uno, no tiene que pagar el fútbol. Yo me equivoqué y pagué, pero la pelota no se mancha.
And now the question remains, despite his historical career and his place between the legends of the sport, did we really see the best version of Maradona?